Now we're going to continue on. This is the second part to chapter 5.8, and we're going to look at 30, 60, 90 examples, just a couple of them real quick. Now 30, 60, 90 is going to be a bit different than our 45, 45. First of all, you notice that we do not have an isosceles type arrangement. We have a small angle, a medium angle, and a large angle. The 90 degree, of course, is the largest. And if you remember the hinge theorem from, well, a month or so ago, the smallest angle will have the smallest opposite side. The biggest angle, this 90 right here, will have the biggest opposite side, and the middle angle will have the middle length. Root 3 is in between 1 and 2 if you worked it out on the calculator. This is our template. This is our scale, and this is our actual over here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do scale over actual is equal to scale over actual. Now some of you probably already looked at this and saw, well, wait a second. If 1 is opposite 30 and 2 is opposite the right, this is twice as long as this. And you probably already can figure out how to work this in your head. That is perfectly fine. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and work the proportions. So I'm going to do apples to apples, oranges to oranges. Now look, these triangles are a little bit flipped. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 2 over 16. And I'm going to solve for my x first. So I'll just put 1 over x. All right? And cross multiply, I get 2x is equal to 16. And x is equal, of course, to 8. We kind of already knew that. And another way to do this is, well, if this is 8, and that's just radical 3 times 8, we know this is going to be radical 3 times 8, so 8 radical 3. But let's go ahead and work out the math, just for proportion's sake to demonstrate, because these problems won't always be so straightforward. So I'm going to do radical 3 over y is equal to, and we're just going to find, I could do 1 over 8 now that I found it, but let's just go ahead and do 2 over 16, which is 1 over 8. Cross multiply, well, we'll just make that 1 over 8. So I get 8 radical 3 is equal to y. All right, so that's how it's going to be. Let's take a look at a little bit more complex example. And you don't have to, when you have a problem like this on this basic level, there's no work to show. You can do this one mentally. It does take some practice. Let's take a look at this one. Let's just make sure that we compare apples to apples. So this is my scale and this is my actual, because all 30, 60, 90 rights are similar. So I'm going to compare apples to apples. So I could do 1 over x. And the only number I have to work with over here is this side length of here. And so that's going to be radical 3 over radical 9 over radical 2. Radical 3 over 9 radical 2. We're going to cross multiply, and I have 9 radical 2 is equal to x times radical 3. We're going to divide out that radical 3. It's just a number. That's all it is. So we're going to divide by radical 3 on both sides. So I just divide by radical 3, divide by radical 3. That cancels out, and I have x is equal to 9 radical 2 over radical 3. We're going to have to multiply by 1. My 1's come in many shapes and sizes. And there's what my 1 is going to look like right here. Radicals play with radicals, so radical 3 times radical 3 is basically square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3. That just cancels out the radical sign. And radical, again, times radical works, so I have 9 radical 6 all over 3. We're actually not done. Numbers play with numbers. 9 divided by 3 is 3, so this whole thing is equal to 3 radical 6. So that's pretty much it, guys, and I may post some other ones in the future, but with the proportion method, it is fairly straightforward as long as you make sure you know your scale, you have those two scales memorized, and you do scale over actual is equal to scale over actual. Nice, easy way to do it. I require you to de-radicalize the denominators and keep everything in exact. So your little baby calculators I let you use are useless for this section. You're going to have to do it by hand.